goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. To the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and hiding. I get those
Newcastle United. Wembley is a place for
you. Ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments. I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the high, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Get in there, get in, and get in some more. Welcome to the Loaded Mag NUFC reaction show. It was Newcastle United 2, Fulham 1 at St James's Park, and we're going to get into it all. And of course, there's only one thing to do. As soon as we've given you the quick intro, is the shades are on. 3 points in the bag, and secured. Happy days all round. Get in there, get in. Hope you're all well in the chat. Make sure you're doing all the good stuff. Make sure you're doing all those likes and subscribes, and of course, making sure you're hyping up the channel and particularly this show as we are on live right now. Thank you for all your support, and we'll continue to plug through the mods as we go through the show. But Chris, how are you on this fine Saturday evening, fella? It feels good, don't it?
Oh, mate, it feels brilliant. It feels brilliant. I've got the Man United game on there in the background. And yeah, it almost feels, and it's quite unusual at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, because normally there's been 4 or 5 games played at this point, maybe even more. And the fact that there's only been 2 games played, I know one was played yesterday, so technically 3. But yeah, I've reminded my red and blue mates. I've said, well, my job's done. Over to you. Because I've had a little look at the league table. I'm sure we'll come to that a bit later on. But I've had a little look at the league table, and I would say, Pete, the pressure is on. And I sent a GIF to the boys earlier, and it was of a fella opening the door, and I said it's almost like somebody has opened the door to top 5. That's how it feels. That's how it feels, Pete. Because as I say, when we get to that league table later, you will see things are looking up. Put it that way. But I'm good, mate. Yeah, great. I was going to say great performance. I'm not going to stretch it that far. Great result. And the most important thing today was securing the 3 points. And as I keep reminding the boys, I keep saying to them, we're on track. As far as I'm concerned, at the moment, we are on track. The only game that I can look at, Pete, and think, maybe we could and we should have picked up maximum points was away to Leeds. However, I look at all the other fixtures, and there's been no results where I've gone, we should have won that. We should. I would expect us to win that. There's been no games. So for me, I'm quite relaxed. And today it was so important we got them 3 points, because we needed the 3 points. We absolutely did. But how are you, Pete, on a personal level? How are you, mate?
Today's great. Today is absolutely great. We just needed to win. After a fantastic performance against Benfica in Champions League, it's always difficult to get yourself up and running. And I'm just absolutely buzzing. We walked out of St James's Park with those 3 points. I have to say it's a little bit of relief, because there were some techie moments, some nervy moments in the game. I'm sure people in the chat will also feel those emotions too as the game was going on. But there's no better feeling than 3 points on a Saturday afternoon, is there? And people, we are going to get into it, that is for sure. But all those things I've said on the screen right now. Smash the likes, subscribe if you're new, and hype. Let's get that up, and let's get into it. So look, Chris, I'll get your thoughts on the initial things as we work through the game, and then we can come to discussion points after we've kind of run through the game. Whoa! Spent too long wrapping through the game, but I'm sure there'll be lots of other discussion points. But looking at the lineups, Chris, as it came out, any surprises there? Anything that kind of took you or sparked your interest when you seen that lineup drop?
Well, The only thing that took my interest, I would say, is the fact that obviously it was disappointing to see that Sandro missed out. However, if he's still not 100%, and I did see Eddie Howe's press conference saying that, he will be a doubt, it made sense for Louis Marley to go in there. But Pete, apart from that, I think that's exactly how we called it on on the Fulham away days. I think that is the lineup that we called for, we asked for, all bar Louis Marley coming in for Sandro Tonali. So other than that, mate, no, I was pleased with the lineup, and I thought, right, let's go. What about you?
Yeah, there was always the big question mark about Sandro Tonali. We saw him arrive through Jordan Cronin early on before the game starting. Thought, if he's there, he's had a few days to kind of rest and recuperate, he might be ready to go, but clearly not, and that's okay. We've got strength and depth to be able to manage the situation. Everything else in the team, I kind of expect it to be. The only question mark for me was probably on Joe Linton and Jacob Ramsey, and that was more so me. On the big match preview, I said I really wanted Jacob Ramsey to keep his spot, because I actually thought for the 60 minutes he played, he was really, really good. But I wasn't frustrated or annoyed that Joe Linton started. This is what rotation does. And Joe Linton did well coming off the bench against Benfica. So you could argue he earned his spot to start in the first 11 today as well. So no questions on that. Looking at the bench, you're looking at there's a lot of strength and depth there. The likes of Shah, Tonali, the likes of Barnes, Osula, Alanga, Ramsey. So there was lots and lots of quality to be able to be called on if we needed it, and we did. Sure, we'll get into that as well in a second. Just a quick one on this, Chris. No Josh King. We waxed lyrical about him along with Emilio in the big match preview, but not on the in the starting lineup of Adama Traore on the right. Was there any initial thoughts when you saw this one, mate?
Yeah, it was interesting, because as you say, Emilio give us his best guess of the lineup, and I was surprised to see Emile Smith-Rowe. Obviously, he featured a lot, didn't he, in our away days chat, as well as Adama Traore. So yeah, they were the two big standouts for me. Obviously, Kenny Tete came back in at right back, which we kind of expected. Ryan Sessegnon at left back, absolutely. But I think to be fair to Emilio, I think he did a pretty good job with the lineup, didn't he? Bar those two, because those two we were not expecting. But so that was interesting. But I'm not going to lie, Pete, it was a little bit of a relief not to see Josh King in the 11. I'll be honest.
Yeah, definitely. He is a quality player, and for him not to be in there was definitely a positive. That was for sure. Well, look, we get into the game, and the game sort of started in very much a similar vein to Benfica. We started on the front foot. We looked to kind of create opportunities and chances, and we did. There was a very much an early chance in the game. A couple of early chances, but there was one came from this situation here, a knockdown, a little melee in the box, and Woltemade hits the post, tries to swing it in goal, hits the post, and not long after that, Jacob Murphy cuts inside and smashes one. I think he tries to do him, the goalkeeper, with the eyes, and hits the post on that one. But at that point, in those early stages, Chris, it looked positive.
Yeah, first 15, 20 minutes, mate. I think I put it in the chat. I was made up. I thought this is what we've been wanting to see for such a long time. I thought we made a really, really strong start. I thought Gordon looked dangerous. I thought Murphy looked dangerous. Woltemade was coming deep, obviously linking up with the midfield. I thought we looked really, really good. And then, well, I'm sure you're going to get to it, but then sadly, it kind of petered out a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. As the sort of the game went on, we have this where it kind of we have this little injection of energy, and we're all over the place, and we looked really, really good, and then all of a sudden we kind of just started to sit back and just invite Fulham on. I've got to be honest, in that first 15, 20 minutes, I looked at Fulham and thought, these aren't very good. They're not very good, and if we can get the first goal, we can really kind of punish them. But they started to come back into the game. Raul Jimenez, who's always a handful, started to get into the game and started to create one or two problems. Adama Traore, in the Magpies South chat, I've said to them, they asked the question about Bernd and Adama Traore, and I said, I'm not really worried, but he started to cause some problems down that right-hand side. He started to make one or two things happen. Bernd was a little bit nervy in those moments. But as what we did, even in those moments where they created a few problems, we were hitting them quick on the counter, and it happens again. And there's a breakaway in that moment, and Jacob Murphy latches onto a mistake by Bassi. He's in on goal. He looks like he's going to take it wide, pulls the trigger, and we get the goal, and it's 1-0. Leno did his best to try and keep it out, but he manages to put it into the net and reels away to the Leazes corner and celebrates a very, very good goal. Chris, your thoughts on the goal to go 1-0 up?
Yeah, it was a great finish from Murphy. I actually thought he'd taken it a little bit too far wide, but then he manages to get his shot off, and it was a really, really good shot. And like you say, I think Leno got fingertips to it, but he couldn't do enough in order to keep it out, and obviously it went in off the post. But yeah, great pressing from Jacob Murphy, and that kind of showed what was going on in the early stages of the game, because we were constantly looking to try and force a mistake. And yeah, Calvin Bassey gets himself in a little bit of a muddle. Jacob Murphy presses him and then cleverly moves slightly to his right just to stop the easy pass. I think it was to Ryan Sessegnon, and then ends up cutting it out, running through on goal. You knew Calvin Bassey wasn't going to catch up with him. And then, yeah, as I say, gets his shot off, and it was a great finish, particularly from a tough angle. And yeah, I admit though, Pete, at 1-0, I was thinking we're going to get another here. We're going to get another. We're going to really kick on. But sadly, that wasn't quite the case. But yeah, great goal, 1-0, and I was supremely confident at that point.
Absolutely. The ball goes into the back of the net, reels off away to celebrate again, and I'm thinking, this is exactly what we needed here. We needed to take the lead first and foremost. But I have to say, there's a little thing in the back of my mind from Fulham last season. We did it in February. We got the goal to take the lead, and it was like, right, we need to go for the kill. We need to get the next goal, because if we get the next goal, for me at that point, even in the first half, I thought if we get that goal, it kills the game. There was no way at 2-0 they were ever going to get back into it, because they just weren't playing well enough. But again, we get the goal and we lull back into that little comfort blanket, and we sit back and we start inviting pressure on, and it just becomes a little bit tetchy. But we made it to half time at 1-0, and I was happy with that. Going in with the lead at half time, with something to absolutely build on and take us forward as we go into that point. But any other thoughts in general of the half before we move on?
Yeah, just really that I was surprised, because I feel, I could be wrong here, Pete, but I feel like that our goal was a little bit against the run of play. So obviously we were still pressing, as I mentioned earlier, but we weren't playing as well as we were in like the 15-20 minute mark. But yeah, we got that all important goal. And going into the second half, I was thinking, like, we need to come out in the second half like we did in the first half. And like I say, I don't think we played poorly in the first half, but I just feel like we'd just gone down a couple of notches, and it was like, we need more. We need to see more, bit more intensity, bit more ambition. It was almost like we were playing safe, like you say. When it went 1-0, it was then we sat in a little bit deeper, and then it was like let's get to half time. But for me, I was hoping that we were, gonna go for the throat and try and make it 2-0. That was my only regret from the first half. But obviously, I was delighted to go in one up at half time.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple of points on here. I have to say, sorry to steal the chat for just a second. How Lukic didn't get booked in the first half is beyond me. Jordy 2 for Life says, I agree with you on that. And I have to say, I thought the ref's performance in the first half was an absolute disgrace. Constantly not giving us blatant, obvious free kicks, particularly Nick Woltemade. Nick Woltemade held the ball in the first half superbly well against Diop and Bassi at times. And they were holding him, they were pulling him back. It was so blatant. How we weren't getting free kicks, I've got no idea. Bruno had a couple that should have been given. Joe Linton had one where he blatantly, I think twice actually, got stood on the same ankle within 5 minutes. And still no card, no free kick, nothing. And it's just like, what is this ref doing? That he clearly had a favourite going into this game. But look, in that half, it didn't matter. We were still in the lead. They not really created anything of note. A couple of shots that went wide, but we managed that fantastically well. And then we go into the second half. So the second half starts, and I have to say, it started in the second half very much like it started in the first. Newcastle on the front foot, down the hill to the Gallowgate, and it was all possession Newcastle United. And I have to say, I was quite comfortable going into that second half, and certainly the first 5 or 10 minutes into that second half, thinking we're in a real good spot here. We seem to be doing well. We're in a good position, and that first 10 minutes were very positive in my mind. And then it wasn't positive because one attack down the sides, ball comes in, crosses into the box. Malik Chow gets a little touch onto it. Jimenez comes in, rattles it off the bar. Botman and Lukic both react, but Lukic gets there just in front, nods it home, and it's 1-1. I'm gonna be honest, my head was on Mars, Chris. I don't know how you were feeling when that ball went into the net, but what was your thoughts when 1-1 struck and Lukic got the equalizer?
Do you know what? It was frustration more than anything, Pete, because you could see it coming. And I think Fulham deserved the equaliser because we just like you say, strong start to the second half and then just petered off. And it was frustrating. It was annoying, and yeah, I found it particularly frustrating. And at that point, I was thinking, oh no, are we seeing Fulham coming into their own here? Are we going to be even more nervous? How are we going to respond to this? But yeah, I can't really argue with the fact that they deserve the equaliser. I think it was Kevin on the left wing, wasn't it? Kevin on the left wing swoops the ball into the box. Malik Chow tries to get a touch on it. I think he gets a minor touch on it anyway, and then the ball gets whipped back in. And then it's just like a little bit of chaos, isn't it? A little bit of a melee, trying to clear the ball. It was a fantastic strike from Jimenez. Absolutely fantastic strike. Nick Pope does really well with it. I think Nick Pope saves it onto the bar, and then it bounces up, and then obviously Sven Botman and Sasa Lukic both jump in the air, end up coming worse off, because it was funny because when Sasa Lukic wheeled away to go and celebrate, his face, he had blood all over his face, and then obviously Sven Botman's in the net holding his head. So a nasty clash of heads on the line, but yeah, just frustration more than anything, Pete, because it was such an unlike goal of Newcastle to concede. We haven't seen that in weeks. In fact, we probably haven't seen it all season. We just looked a little bit all over the place at that point, which was disappointing because this season we've defended absolutely magnificently. And as I say, I'm not taking anything away from Val Jimenez's strike. Nick Pope, fantastic save, but it shouldn't have got to that point. Because, like I say, when the ball got whipped in, we should have really dealt with it better, I feel. And then for the opportunity for it to come back in again, it was just a little bit all over the place. But yeah, I was nervous at 1-1, mate, I'll be honest, because in the back of my head, as I mentioned earlier, I felt like we're pretty much on track this season. But I thought there was no excuse not to win at home to Fulham. There was no excuse whatsoever. We've got to go and get the 3 points today.
Yeah, as I mentioned, my head was on Mars at that point, because in my mind, I'm thinking, how the hell, when we are so comfortable, we are playing relatively well, dominating possession and really penning them back, have we now been in a position where we're sitting and it's 1-1 and they're back into the game? And you know what, Chris? I was nervous. I was really, really nervous. And this is the reason why, is because back in February, I think it was February, but back in February, the exact same thing happened, is that we were winning, we were comfortable, they'd score out the blue, and then all of a sudden they go on and win the game. And I was just like, please, we cannot have this. We are down in the table. Am I worried? No. But the longer you don't win games like this, it creates more problems. And I'm thinking, we have to win this game. We have to win their draw. I think I said it to you off air before we went live for the big match preview. I said to you, we have to win this game. Like, this is a must win. Like, a draw is not good enough. Like, no. So when they equalised, oh my God. Anyway, that sparked an array of changes. So the likes of Harvey Barnes comes onto the pitch, Sandro Tonali comes onto the pitch to make a difference straight off the bat. At that point,
it was a triple sub, wasn't it, Pete? I think.
Yeah, it was. Who was the third one? Because then Botman goes off injured, so Fabian Schär comes to replace. So it did spark an instant change. And I mean, look, Sven Botman looked fine after at the end of the game. He went on to celebrate the rest of the players. I think it was more precaution than anything else. They didn't want there to be a problem. But that we needed changes. We needed something different. I don't think Miley played badly, by the way, but I think we just needed an injection of quality and experience like Sandro Tonali on the pitch. And Harvey Barnes with his goal exploits, we needed something different from him too. We were hoping it was going to spark us into a change and into something a little bit different, but it was very much the same, if I'm going to be honest. Like, we were penning them back without really creating massive amounts of chances. But there was one. There was an excellent one. I think I know where you're going to go with this one. Chris, go on.
Yeah, I'm just watching it now. Sesko, just on the edge of the box, flicks it up, right and heads it out. I think Bruno's knocked it on. Casemiro, edge of the box. Oh, it's too easy. Wow. Good goal, though, for Man United. Good goal. Man United 1-0 against Brighton. Cunha, just outside the 18-yard box, bends it in. For Bruggen, no chance. 1-0 Man United. Sorry, Pete.
Yeah. Nice finish from Matheus Cunha. But yeah, we did get a chance. We did manipulate a chance. There was a nice little bit of work. I think this might have been before the sub. There was a nice little bit of work between, I think, Gordon and Nick Woltemade. There was a ball clipped from the back post into the middle, and Bruno Guimarães 6 yards out, heads it over. All they had to do was head it down across goal, and he scores. Bernd Leno was done. He was not even going to move. I think it was actually after the equalizer. But a big chance missed from Bruno Guimarães. But there weren't many chances there to be created. It then sparked into further changes. The likes of Anthony Elanga comes on, and Nick Woltemade, who had slightly faded in the second half, comes off, and then William Osula comes on. At that point, chaos resumed, and we kicked right back into gear. And there were openings that happened. Elanga has a shot that's cleared off the line by the defender. We're constantly penning Fulham back, and as Tim Sherwood said on Sky Sports, there was only going to be one team going to be scoring the winning goal, and thankfully we managed to get there because some fantastic work from William Osula running into the box, using his step overs to create this space. Goalkeeper parries it, and Bruno Guimarães is on hand to score ultimately the winning goal. He reels away in celebration with Anthony Elanga. The boys celebrate in the Gallowgate corner, or not the Gallowgate corner, but the corner between the Gallowgate and the Milburn, and they are all absolutely ecstatic. Chris, tell me about this goal right here.
Yeah. Just, do you know what? Just to quickly touch back on that header, mate. Lovely little bit of piece of skill from Nick Woltemade. He drew like 3 or 4 players into him. Ball, as you say, he then plays a really clever ball onto Anthony Gordon, who whips the ball into the box. Mate, it reminded me of Leicester. Bruno come running in like a steam train, and I thought, he's going to score. Oh, the header, mate. It was just, he just got it all wrong, didn't he? Got it all wrong. But no, to touch on the goal, I thought William Osula did absolutely magnificently for that move, because it was William Osula who forced the mistake, and he came on full of energy, which we know and we've seen from William Osula. Absolutely full of energy, caused all kinds of problems for Fulham. That then allowed Anthony Elanga to set William Osula off on his way. William Osula, as you say, a few step overs, gets a really good shot off, by the way. It was a good save from Bernd Leno, and then obviously Bruno running in. With the all important finish, and at that point you knew then, didn't you? The game was done. If you have someone coming on just going, over. You knew it was done. You knew we were going to see that out the last few minutes. For once, I wasn't actually nervous. I thought, we've got this. It's in the bag. And also, Pete, little bit of breaking news. And I don't know whether you share this opinion, but I think the price might have gone up for William Osula. I think it might have.
Frankfurt, you naughty boys. Naughty boys, trying to skimp out of that 28 million, and you still want him. Sky Sports in Germany say you still want him. We'll come on to that in just a second. You naughty boys, Frankfurt. Yes, very, very good point raised there. But look, relief, Chris. That's the key word for me. Yeah. Honestly, when that ball gets into the net, it's just like, yes, get in there, and relief. Because at that point, it's just like, we're in the lead, it's late on in the game, and it's just, in my mind, I'm like, end the game now. See this game out, Newcastle United. Do not concede another late goal. That was all I was thinking about. And it was 6 minutes added on time, which was, to be fair, I expected there to be more because of the Botman treatment after the goal and the substitutions. I thought there'd be more than 6 minutes. So when there was 6 minutes, I was
I
like,
thought it'd be more than six. I thought it was 6. Sven Botman was down for a while.
Yeah. And then you had on the subs as well. I thought I was hoping, because I was expecting us to go into the 90 minutes still 1-1. I thought there'd be about 8. I thought, wow, we'll get 8 minutes out of this.
Same.
6 came up at 2-1. I was like, you know what? I'll take it. I'll take that all day long, because it could have been a lot more.
I was thinking exactly the same as you, Pete, because I especially, when there's been a big or significant injury or stoppage or whatever, because like you, when I think it was on like 81, 82 minutes, and I'm thinking in my head, right, there's 10 minutes left roughly, and then I thought, well, actually, no, there's going to be more, because obviously we've had that significant injury, and I'm thinking, like you, it's got to be at least 8 minutes. It's got to be. So then I'm thinking, right, okay, so technically we've got a good 15, 20 minutes here, to try and get something. So yeah, I'm but that was because I'm panicking. 15, 20 minutes. Sorry, it's not that long. Yeah, it was on 81, 82. Yeah, so I'm thinking we've got about 15 minutes plus. And yeah, I'm thinking we need these minutes to try and get this equaliser, because at that moment, and obviously when the subs came on, we were in the ascendancy, weren't we? And it only looked like one winner towards the end of the game. And I just hoped that we could find something, and thankfully we did.
We did, and Bruno Guimarães gets that goal. At that point, it was just a case of, damage limitation. Let's just see this game out. Let's just get past this game with 3 points in the bag and move on. And you know what, lads and lasses, that's exactly what we did, because the game ends 2-1. Newcastle United in St James's Park. The fans, the players, the manager, a relief that we got the job done. Payback from last season. They did that to us last year. We did it back to them, in that we got the winning goal that takes us through into the next round of games. 3 points better off. And look, there's no better way of Newcastle United fans celebrating 3 points in the bag than with a team photo. And there's a team photo there. Looks good. Boys all happy. Smiles across all of their faces. I haven't really looked at this properly, so I'm just looking at players in there. There has been an update with regards to Sven Botman. I'll just read it out in just a second. It's from Craig Hope, actually, that says, let me just read it. It says, Sven Botman has not suffered a concussion. Eddie Howe says he's okay after being forced off with a cut to his head. He should be available for Spurs on Wednesday, which is great news, and what we expected from that situation. He was on the pitch celebrating and doing all the rest with the rest of his players, so I expected that to be the case. So positive news there, Chris. Sven Botman's okay, and of course, positive news because we get another one of these, mate.
Yes. You know what? We haven't seen enough of these this season, have we? I think we've wanted more, we've needed more, and hopefully now, Pete, we can get a nice little run together. And I think we spoke about that, didn't we? through the week, about the fact that we need to go on a run now. You're looking at the Premier League games coming up, you're looking at the league table, you're looking at the Champions League, and you're thinking, right, come on, let's just get a nice little run of games together. If we go on like a 6 or 7 game winning streak, it's going to do the world of good. It's going to absolutely do the world of good, and we're more than capable of it. And more importantly, Pete, as well, from Eddie Howe's press conference, from the sound of things, our injuries around the corner, Pete. Our players returning from injury around the corner. And looking there, the highest player on that picture at the very back, Tino Livramento. Tino Livramento there. Just in between the E and the U, celebrating with the lads. So I don't think he is going to be far away at all. And then obviously Lewis Hall, again, similarly, we're hearing not far away. So yeah, it's all good. Oh my God.
It is 2-0. Man United against Brighton, as just popped up on the screen. Casemiro apparently is the goal scorer.
Biggest deflection ever, Pete. He hits it from about 25 yards out. Takes a massive deflection. Keeper's got no chance. Keeper's going to his left. The ball goes to the right. 2-0. Man United. What's that? 34 minutes? Yeah. It's just showing the replay now. Casemiro picks up the ball. No one's closing him. Takes a shot. Brighton player blocks it. Keeper's got no chance. Yeah, trickles into the net.
This frustrates me because it's like, this is, I've just watched it. It's crazy. This is Brighton though. Like Man United haven't even played well and they're 2-0 up. And it's like, this is what teams should be doing to Brighton, but they're our bogey team. So there's always this mentality that they're going to be difficult to beat. They're not. And teams are putting them to the sword. Albeit, yes, it was at the Amex. But we need another set payback this season. At St. James's Park, we need to put Brighton to the sword. We absolutely need to do that. There's a few teams on our chopping block at St. James's Park this season. Brighton is one of them. We put one to the sword in Fulham today. Another one, Bournemouth. We need to put them to the sword at St. James's Park this season as well. There's a couple on our hit list of teams we need to be beaten at our gaff this season, and they are absolutely one of them. But look,
the only thing that makes it palatable for me, Pete, because you're absolutely right about Brighton, absolutely right. And same with Fulham. When the commentators reminded us during the game, Newcastle lost home and away to Fulham. Like, the only thing that makes it palatable for me against Brighton, as much as it was disappointing, was the fact that we were away to Brighton. At home to Brighton this season, we have to go and secure those 3 points. We absolutely have to, and you're right. And Man United, it just shows the way the league is though at the moment, doesn't it? The fact that I feel at the moment, and we're getting washed into this. We're getting like muddled in with this. The way teams are all beating each other. And as I keep reminding the lads, the reason we are where we are is because we've drawn quite a few games, but we had a difficult start. We've played a lot of away games where you go, you know what, could be difficult. That could be a difficult game. And that's why I go into this confident thinking, do you know what? Because when we play those teams who we've already played away, we've got to bring them to St. James's Park. But it's so important that when we do bring them to St. James's Park, the likes of Villa, the likes of Leeds, the likes of Brighton, that we go and we pick up the 3 points and make sure, and therefore that will then lift us, back up the league in terms of points.
Yeah, absolutely. We did have a tough start to the season. A lot of people weren't talking about that, but some of the away games we had and some of the teams that we played, you've got some teams out there that have had semi-good starts or really good starts this season, but really haven't played anybody. And they're about to, and they're going to be in a run of games where they're about to be playing some good teams. And this is where you're going to be really, really tested at this point. And it all evens itself out, as we always say. It always evens itself out nicely. But look, let's have a look at the table. I'm going to start it from third downwards for obvious reasons. People in the chat, if you know, you know. But yes, third downwards. Puts us at 10th in the table. So looking at that, what do you make of that? Because we were 15th, so we've jumped 5 spaces, on 12 points now, a point behind the likes of Palace, a point now behind the likes of Chelsea, who lost today by the team that are second, and the reason why they're not on the screen. And yeah, only a couple of points behind the likes of Tottenham and 3 points behind Liverpool, who were winning the league apparently in September. So, what do you make of that league table now, fella?
Oh, mate, like I've duly posted that on my lads' WhatsApp group, chat, and I said exactly what you've just said. I thought Liverpool were winning the league. We're 3 points behind Liverpool. 3 points behind Liverpool, and they've got a very, very tough game tonight against Brentford away. I think it's going to be a tough game for them. But in terms of the league, I look at it there and I'm like, right, 12 points. And straight away, I'm looking, well, let's look at City. We're 4 points behind City, who are third. 4 points. And this is why it's so important to go on a run. Go into these next few games, pick up maximum points, gain a bit of momentum. And all of a sudden, Pete, because after 3 or 4 games, if you can go and win 3 or 4 games on the bounce, which in the Premier League is not easy, granted, those teams above us will not win the next 3 or 4 games. They just won't. They won't all win. And then all of a sudden, you could find yourselves in European places. Or I say could, you will find yourself in European places. And for me, somebody put it in the chat earlier, will 5th spot be given to England in terms of the coefficients? And I absolutely believe it will. Because as many people know, we've got loads of teams in European competition this season, and you get points for how far you progress. And there's certain teams who I think are going to go far in the European competitions, and that will just make it near on impossible, in my opinion, for the likes of Spain, Germany, Italy to take those places. And am I right in thinking, Pete? Is it 2 countries that get the extra 5th spot for the coefficients? Because if that's the case, I just can't see England finishing outside that top 2, which means that if we're looking for top 5 for Champions League, we've got to be fancying our chances. There's Bournemouth there, Pete, 3 points ahead of us. Bournemouth, Chelsea dropping points at home to Sunderland. And I said this to the lads. You look at, I won't go into them all because it would probably take an hour to go into them all. But you look at the likes of Tottenham, Chelsea, Villa. You look at some of the points that they've dropped. They've dropped points, in games that they should be winning. They should be winning, and this is why I'm taking so much confidence, because I look at our fixtures and I think we haven't really dropped points that we should be winning. Like all the Liverpool and Everton fans are going, "Oh, look, you've lost 3 games already." I said, "Yeah, we've lost away to Brighton, at home to Arsenal, and at home to Liverpool." The 2 home games that we'd lost were at home to Arsenal and Liverpool. We're not going to play Arsenal, Liverpool every week. But people just aren't taking that into account. And
Bournemouth is a tough game away. Brighton is a tough game away. And we've already mentioned that. We played them at the Amex. We didn't play them at home. And although they are a difficult team for us to play at home in recent years, they're considerably easier to play at home than they would be away. That's just natural because we're at St James's Park. You look at the other, teams will drop points to Leeds. Leeds will pick up points at home. That was probably where they'll stay in the league by their home form. And teams will drop points. You've seen the likes of Bournemouth, who are flying, drop points to Leeds. They're beating teams like West Ham and various other teams as well. They're making it difficult. You look at those games, and then you look at the games that we've won with the likes of Fulham, the likes of Wolves. We've been able to win games that you kind of expect us to win. So we are sort of looking at maybe par for the course. We'd have liked to have.
We're on track, Pete. We're on track.
Yeah. We would have loved to have got a point against Liverpool last minute and a point against Arsenal last minute, but it didn't happen. But it's important now that we get those points in other areas, like beating Fulham where we lost last season, like beating Brighton at home, like beating Bournemouth at home, and other teams where we would normally have dropped points. We pick up the 3 in other areas, and it just evens itself out. It's just the reality.
The way, Pete, people go, "Oh, they were down to 10 men. You should have beat them." And yeah, Villa were in a bad spot, and yeah, they were down to 10 men, absolutely. But when you look through the course of the season, most teams who go to Villa Park this season, now Villa have picked up form, will struggle to pick up points. They will.
Absolutely. You look at Villa now, and look, you can see where they are in the table, just below us, and they've got a tough game this weekend. But a lot of teams will drop points in Villa Park this season, and yes, we didn't win there, but we didn't lose there either. And it's a game that can be scrubbed off. It got wiped off beginning of the season. We ain't got to worry about going to Villa Park later on in the season. They've got to come to us. And we know what our form is like at St. James's Park, and we'd always be confident going into games at St. James's Park. So looking at the table right now, it is looking a little bit more positive with the fact that we've got West Ham away, who, if we go down the table, are sitting 19th. Lost, 4 out of the last 5 in the league. They look like they're in a real difficult moment. Conceded, is that right? To the top. Sorry for those that have seen Sunderland second. Yeah, conceded 20 goals this season. Wow.
Do you know what as well, Pete? I don't know.
Most in the Premier League. Look, 20. The other one after that is 16. Wolverhampton Wanderers. 20 goals. So 4 more than any other team in the Premier League? The most conceded. That's significant. Sorry, go on.
No, sorry, mate. I was just going to say I don't mind seeing Sunderland second, and you know why? Because I see Sunderland second, and I also see that they're on 17 points. We're 5 points behind second in the league.
Yeah,
and Sunderland are going to drop off. I think Sophie in the chat said earlier. Of course they're going to drop off. Yeah, they've made a fantastic start, and fair play to them. But of course they're going to drop off, and it just means the more that these teams who are up at the top, the more that they, nick points from other teams, like today. Like if you'd have offered me, Sunderland beat Chelsea today, I'd have bit your hand off. I'd have bit your hand off all day, because Charlie will have been going into this game thinking guaranteed 3 points. Here we go, that'll do me. And there's another example of three massive points being dropped. It's huge.
Yeah, and look, they're you could argue that they're going to stay in the Premier League. They're already halfway to their target. Like if they doubled their points 34 in a lot of seasons, will get you almost in and around staying in the Premier League, and they're already halfway there now after 9 games. So you could think that they're going to stay in the league, but with that can bring complacency, and so if people are, you'll get people on Sky Sports and Match of the Day talking about Sunderland maybe playing in a position where they're fighting for the top half of the table, etc., because people always over-talk teams in the way that it ain't going to be the case. They'll probably finish midway in that bottom half of the table, and that would be great for them because they'll stay in the Premier League, no problem. But look, it is what it is. We've got West Ham next, which is a really good fixture, a really positive fixture for us with the form that they're in at the moment. And going into that game, you'd have to be more than confident of picking 3 points upon that. And these fixtures are coming at a good time for Newcastle United. There's no doubt about it. But just while we're here, in addition to that, I just wanted to, it allows me, I just want to pop this up on the screen, Chris, because people in the chat and yourself asked about the coefficient. This is how it stands currently. We are currently top of the coefficient. Second is Italy, third is Spain, fourth is Germany. So we are currently top at this point. 8.166 is the 25-26 coefficient, and you've got a couple of other bits as well. Teams that are not too far behind, obviously, the more that we keep winning, Newcastle United, because remember, the season that we dropped our coefficient was, and we lost out on the 5th place, was the season that we went out of the Champions League early alongside Man United because we weren't winning matches. If we continue to win matches and every other English team continues to win matches, it will keep us at that top. And as we've mentioned before, it is the top 2 that gets the coefficient spots. So currently, as it stands, and obviously there's a long way to go on this, but currently as it stands, it is England and Italy that will be picking up the coefficient spots right now. So that's currently where we are on that.
12 points clear at the top as well, Pete.
Yeah. So we've got room to manoeuvre. So we're in a good spot, put it that way. With coefficient. So 5th is definitely up for grabs for Champions League, that is for sure. And 5th should be the target. In my opinion, that should be the target. Should we be aiming higher than that? Of course, I'm sure Eddie Howe and the boys are aiming higher than that. But 5th should absolutely be the target, because if that can get us back to that Champions League, that would be absolutely brilliant in that. that's kind of where we are currently. So the big wins. I've got a little bit of a shout out for a certain individual in this game today. Are you anyone that kind of stands out for you that you think needs to be spoken about? Obviously, there were a number of players that had really good games today. Anyone to kind of single out, mate?
If you could have recorded my entrance into the green room earlier, Pete, you probably know who I'm going to say. Malik Chow. Mate, unbelievable. He just continues to impress, doesn't he? He really stood out for me today. And then he gets moved to left centre back when Fabian Schär comes on. And I said to you, didn't I? I was watching him for a good 15, 20 minutes, and I was thinking, is this lad left-footed or right-footed? Like, he's just so comfortable on the ball. And so many times in that first half, you saw him playing the difficult pass. There was a pass on, and Kieran Trippier very, very often just to his right, and he's slotting it through the midfield. You know, he's trying to move us forward. I just think he's brilliant. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And, you know, whether we got him for 21 million, 33 million, whatever the price may be, I think he's worth every single penny because he's looked absolutely superb since he's come in. And for me, I thought Malik Chow was absolutely outstanding today. I was really, really impressed with him. He's going to be a huge player for us in the coming years. And what a find by Eddie Allen as coach and staff. And yeah, so pleased that he joined. I was singing his praises, wasn't I, Pete, a couple of summers ago, and of saying, you know, we should go back in for Chow, because I knew that, you know, we'd studied him a fair bit, hadn't we, on loads, because obviously we've been linked with him, and we know that Eddie Allen and his coaching staff are very, very meticulous. They know who they want. They'd previously shown interest in him, so that is why I wanted us to go back in for him again. And I'm so glad that we did, because I think he's an absolute rock in the central defence for us. So he was my standout, I would say. But also I want to give another mini shout out to Anthony Gordon, because I thought he worked his socks off today. He tried his very best. We did see glimpses. You know, there was a moment, Pete, and I thought of you actually. I think it was, I can't remember if it was the end of the first half or midway through the second half, but he was up against his fullback Kenny Tete, and he went to go in on his right, as he always does, and then he went down the left and he had a bit of joy. And I thought, that's what we need more of. You need to keep him guessing. You need to, you know, don't just cut in on your right and look for that extra yard so that you can get your shot off, or just pass it along the box. Do something a bit different. And we saw that from Anthony Gordon today. Was it his best game? Probably not. It was always going to be difficult to replicate that second half against Benfica. But he caused Kenny Tete problems. He worked really, really hard. And obviously, you know, he ended up getting subbed, didn't he? And also, sorry, very last one. I'm not going to go too mad here, but I also have to give a little shout out to Anthony Elanga, because that was the first performance I've seen from Anthony Elanga where I'm looking at the detail. I was looking at the details when he came on. I thought, right, how's your touch? Right, are you looking to stretch your defence? You know, you're coming on fresh. His first touch today was sublime. And I was like, great, he has got a first touch in him. This is really, really positive. And I thought he needed that today. He needed that little bit of confidence. And obviously he played a key factor in the winning goal, didn't he? So fair play to Anthony Elanga as well. I must say that, because it can't have been easy for him. Jacob Murphy's come back into the team full of confidence, doing the business. And, you know, it can't have been easy for them, you know, to kind of be replaced. He's the, you know, the big £52 million signing, a lot of pressure on his shoulders, but he came on, did his cameo, did his part, and fair play to him. But yeah, my standout today is Malik Chow.
Yeah, absolutely. There was, you know, when he went to left centre back, it didn't faze me at all, because he's played there for Milan, and he did this little flipped ball with his left foot into, I think it might have been into Nick Woltemade, not long after the goal at 1-1. And it was like Botman or someone else had played it. It was just seamless, right into his feet, perfect, 20-25 yards. Just dinked into his feet and just thinking, flipping. And I'm like, this guy could do everything. But you're absolutely right in there. And yeah, Yeah, I thought Gordon had a really good half. I thought exactly what you said. I thought that Alanga did okay when he come off. He's got to play well. He has to if he wants to.
He has to. He has to.
He has to, and this will be it. These are the pressure points now. But for me, the big standout for me is this man, Willa Osula. I thought he was absolutely superb off the bench. We've all had our opinions on Willa Osula. Is he best to stay? Is he best to go? And look, he absolutely was superb, and he's getting his praise, and quite rightly so, for his impact off the bench. This is what we needed. We needed someone different. I tweeted out after the game, and I just simply put absolute chaos, because he just creates chaos. And Willa Osula coming onto the pitch created chaos in a moment that created the goal, that created a winning goal moment. And I thought the run that he made, the little kind of step overs that he does to create that little bit of space in order for that shot to be taken. And it wasn't the greatest shot in the world, but it was enough. It was enough for the ball to be parried out and someone on hand. And Bruno seems to be always that guy at the moment that's on hand to just arrive in the box at the right time to put the ball in the back of the net. And he does so. And he effectively wins the game for us. But it's his running. It's his pressing. It's for that period of time that he's on the pitch. He just doesn't stop working for the team. And that's an element to his game that he's really added this season that I really like about him. And, you know, there's lots of talk at the moment that he's not doing as much social media. I think in the last few days, he started to do a little bit more with Johan Wissa and Anthony Elanga, and it's been sort of documented with regards to that. But it seems to be that at this moment in time, he is fully focused on football, and that's what we want to see from him. We love the content. We love the banter and the laughs and the jokes and the vibes, but we want him to be focused on football, and he seems like he's really driven at the moment to prove a point. He was so close, very, very close to leaving Newcastle United, but he's not. He's still with us. And whilst he's with us, he's having moments. He hasn't been off the bench all the time recently, but every time he has come off the bench, he's done something that's changed the game. And Willa Osula, big props to you today, because you were the reason. You might have not scored the goal, but he is the reason why we won the game. And fair play to him. And we talked about it earlier on in the show, Chris. You know, price tag. As I said before, Frankfurt, naughty boys. Naughty boys. Tried to skimp on our boy Willa Osula. But yeah, there's a lot of people now saying no sale. Keep with us in January. Now, there'll be questions to answer on that. There's still more to see from Willa Osula. There'll be more asked of him. Obviously, if Johan Wissa does go to AFCON, we'll be asking a little bit more of him. But at this point now, price is going one way, and it's going up. That is for sure. Like, what price would you put on Willa Osula? People, put your price in the chat. What do you value him at? We're not saying he's going to go. In fact, I think it's probably more chance he's going to stay now at Newcastle United. But if a team was to come in with the big bucks, what's your value, fella? What you valuing him at this moment in time?
Do you know what? It's a tough one, because we spoke about this a few weeks ago, didn't we? And we were all, and you know, no shame in admitting it, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of Newcastle fans in the chat who felt the same. We were all in shock when this £28 million move was mooted on transfer deadline day, and we're all going at this point, get rid, sell them, take the money, let's move on. You know, we've had concerns on this channel, haven't we, Pete, as a free? Yeah. We've had concerns about Willa Osula being able to make it at Newcastle United. Now, the move didn't happen. And then we saw a really, really good performance against Bradford in the cup. Now, obviously, it's Bradford, and you know, people will say, you know, not exactly top opposition. But Willa Osula has got his head down. He's seemingly starting to learn how Eddie Howe wants him to play, and then he's coming on and doing things like he did today. He's causing chaos, as you rightly describe it. You know, he's full of energy. He's only a young lad. You can see there's talent there. You know, he has for such a big lad, he's got good feet. He loves that step over, but it gets him joy, and he gets his shots off. You know, he's not shy of shooting, and he's a confident lad. So for me, Pete, given that Frankfurt have obviously spotted this potential, and they were saying 28 million, and there's talk, isn't there, that they're going to come back in again in January, as you mentioned earlier, with a loan, with an obligation. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be going less than 35 million, and I would want maybe 5 million in a loan fee. That's what I would be asking, if I'm honest, because it's got to be higher than 28 million. And in order for us to let him go, we're going to have to bring in some kind of money, I would suggest, as a loan fee, because we're going to want to maybe go out and replace him if he is to go on a loan with a view to a permanent, with an obligation. So for me, yeah, I'm thinking 35, 40 million. Let's not forget, this is a striker who's very young, and we know goal scorers cost a lot more money. We know they cost a lot more money because if you can find the back of the net, which is not easy to do, I can say, do you know what? I can see why Frankfurt are interested in him, because let's be honest, the Bundesliga, I would say the quality in the Bundesliga has dropped over the years, and we're very critical, or we've got high demands of players who are playing in the Premier League up against some of the best players in the world at the moment. If William Osula goes into the Bundesliga, Pete, and plays week in, week out, how many goals are you expecting William Osula to score in the Bundesliga? With, I would say, probably 85% of the league are probably mid-table in the Premier League, I would say, if not below.
There's goals there for him to be scored, in my opinion. I think the Bundesliga is a lesser quality league than the Premier League.
Yep.
I think there's goals for him to be scored, and I think he could if he went to Frankfurt and he was the guy. There's no reason why he could be pushing double figures in the last half of the season. He could potentially get that if he's playing week in, week out in regular football, because his ability and his ability to create chaos allows that to happen. There is absolutely encouragement and need for Frankfurt. You look at Frankfurt when they played against Liverpool week, and they, it looked like they lacked that little bit of end product at the end. They had a little bit of quality and creativity, but they lacked that little bit of quality at the end. And he is very similar, not the same, but very similar to like an Ekitike mold of player.
Yeah,
that's why we signed him, because he does have that about him, that running in behind, all action, all work. I mean, he has that little sparkle of quality at the end of it. So I do like the fact that he's got that ability about him. So I think there's a positivity there. I look at the Dango Atara deal from Bournemouth to Brentford, and he went for about 37, 38 million. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, is William Osula much different to Dango Atara? Probably not. So
I think he's younger, isn't he, Pete? Would that be fair to say?
Dango Atara, I think he is actually. We can have a look at that. See what his age is. But that price there for me is a big reason. So Dango Atara is 23, so they're around the same age.
Oh my God,
around the same age. So I'm looking at, if he's going for 37 million, I'm thinking, well, yeah, I think William Osula could be worth around the same. Absolutely. So, going up nearly 10 million in value in that period of time, I think is probably about right. So that's the kind of fee that I'd be looking for if they were to be signing, anyone was to be signing William Osula from us. So let's wait and see on that situation. But the most important thing right now is William Osula coming off the bench, doing the business for Newcastle United, and absolutely today he did that, and fair play to him. Really, really pleased to see that, because it ensured that 3 points were on the board. So absolutely the two standout boys in there, Malik Chow and William Osula, together deserve their praise. So people, W's in the chat, get your W's in the chat, not just for William Osula, but for Newcastle United, because we secured the 3 points today against Fulham. Love it, love it, love it. Any questions or comments, Chris, that we want to have a discussion about?
Yeah, do you know what, mate? We'll flip through some comments and see where we are. Just a reminder as well, if you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button. Let's get those likes up, please. It would be much appreciated. And obviously, if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Obviously, by subscribing, you can then take part in the chat. So that would be great. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Now, once this show is over, as Pete's mentioned earlier, you can hype the show. And to do that, you just go onto YouTube, you click on the show, you go to the chat, and if you if you swipe the chat to the left, you will see the hype button. Now, hyping the show will again share the show far and wide, and it will be much appreciated. We'd all appreciate you doing that. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us in the chat. And please hit that like if you haven't done so already. Right, where are we? Yeah, Geordie Toon for Life. And I mentioned this earlier, Geordie Toon for Life, and I'm interested to hear Pete's thoughts on this as well. Geordie Toon for Life says, we are missing Tino and Hall so much to give us more of an attacking team, along with the much-needed balance and pace. You'll see a massive difference once they are fit. Now, obviously, we heard in Eddie Howe's press conference that Tino Livramento is not far away, as is not Lewis Hall. He is not far away either. And obviously, Will Osula kindly shared some pictures, didn't he? A video with Johan Visser, who was seemingly in and amongst the squad. How excited are you, Pete, by the return of Tino, Hall and Visser? And, do you agree with Geordie Toon for Life that, it would be great, to have those lads back, particularly the fullbacks in Hall and Tino Livramento, to kind of offer something a little bit more going forward? That is no slant or shade whatsoever on Kieran Trippier or Dan Burn. But as somebody pointed out, Kieran Trippier is 35, Dan Burn is 33, I believe. Having the young lads back in, being able to, take us off that pitch a little bit more and offer that little bit more attacking threat. How excited are you to have those two lads back, particularly, and also obviously let us know what you think about Visser as well, Pete.
Yeah, massive plus. I think Hall will be back before Tino. I won't be surprised to see Hall back in the squad maybe on Wednesday. With the way that Eddie Howe was talking, he's already seems to be in training. I won't be surprised to see him back in the team or in the squad shortly. But we do miss them. And we miss them because they are both young, athletic and progressive players. They like to get the ball forward. They're good in attacking phases as well as defensive phases. And we do miss them. We absolutely do. Dan Burn's not done a bad job, by the way, filling in at left back, which is not his position. He's not the best in attacking phases. We know that. We knew that from previous. But he's done a job defensively where he's been really solid. We talked about Adama Traore causing problems in the first half. In the second half, he caused nothing. And that was down to Dan Burn keeping him quite quiet. So we know he can do a job, but we want a progressive player. I think it makes it really hard for our wingers. And actually, having someone like Tino Livramento making overlaps could absolutely help Anthony Malanga, for example, in attacking phases. I know it would absolutely make a massive difference to Anthony Gordon, having Lewis Hall making those little overlapping runs. Dan Burn tries to, but it's not the same. And as well, Nick Woltemade will benefit from both because of delivery, quality of delivery, certainly from Lewis Hall. So we absolutely miss their quality, but we miss the variety as well in their game, in having Trippier, Tino, Lewis Hall, Dan Burn, whoever it is, that having four choices of fullbacks to work with in different phases of the game. And we do. We absolutely miss it. Tino Livramento is at a high level fullback. He is quality, whether it's left back, whether it's right back. He is quality. He's going to the World Cup. There's no doubt about it. He just needs to get back fit again. So we do miss him. Lewis Hall, we haven't seen a lot of this season, but if he can come back anywhere near to what he produced last season before his injury, he was odds on to be player of the season. So again, when you weigh that up, we are missing quality players. So I'm excited about them coming back. I'm excited about us having a huge, bigger squad to choose from. And they'll be back very soon. So that's the positive thing, is that it's not going to be long, but we're going to have to manage them. We're going to have to make sure that there's no breakdown again of a hamstring for Hall. There's no breakdown again of a knee problem for Tino, that when they are back up and running, that they're back up and running to go again. And within that, Chris, just really quickly, I give props to Dan Burn, but we have to give props to Dan Burn and Kieran Trippier because, yes, they're not doing what we would want necessarily in fullbacks, but they're holding the fort. They're playing every minute.
Yeah.
They're playing every minute because there's no other choice. The other alternative is Emil Kraft. I think everyone now is very clear that Emil Kraft is not at the level. He just isn't, with all due respect to him. Lovely guy. Great guy, loves the club, all the rest of it, but he's just not at the level. So Kieran Trippier and Dan Burn are holding the fort whilst Tino and Lewis Hall are out. So they have to get props as well, because they're not doing what we want them to do in terms of being progressive and forward and attacking, but they're having to play every minute of every game, and that's not easy. They're playing 2-3 games a week. So big props to them. Looking forward to the boys coming back. That's kind of how I see it right now.
Yeah, totally. Talking of the boys coming back, Ian CR65 says, where is Daz? Daz will be back. We're hoping, aren't we, Pete, that Daz is going to be back next week. That is the hope. Because Daz's broadband, for anyone who's wondering, Daz's broadband went down where he lives in Ireland, and he's been waiting for the new provider to come in and put in their version of the internet. So unfortunately Daz has been out of action, but he's been chomping at the bit. As always, I'm sure everyone on here knows Daz always works incredibly hard behind the scenes. So Daz has been helping us with the shows, just not on screen, but as always been doing loads in the background as he does, and we can't wait to have him back, can we, Pete? We're very excited to have him back.
We will definitely be having him back very, very soon. So, let's be patient with that. But he'll be back. He'll be back better than ever. So, fingers crossed we have him back. Hopefully next. Fingers crossed. Dad is celebrating with us. Don't worry about that.
He is.
Every goal goes in. We're celebrating together. There's no doubt.
He is. And this comment from Geordie's Team for Life made me laugh because I was thinking the same. Pete and Chris, Dad would still be talking about the first 15 minutes, and you're finished. Sorry, Daz, we miss you. Because when you were doing the review of the match, we just went. Wow. Whereas with Daz is intricate, Daz's attention to detail, and we love that about Daz. But yeah, no, we miss you, Dazlet, and he will be back soon. And everyone in the chat, do not worry, he will be with us soon. Do not worry.
Absolutely.
Right, let's see. The Clon Lad, a member, a Loaded Ultra for 2 years. Thank you very much, the Clon Lad. And the Clon Lad says, met Keith Downey with my son before Benfica. Sound lad. Absolutely. Anyone who's only just watching this show now, we had Keith Downey on through the week. Go back, go and watch it. Lots of really interesting things that Keith went into. We talked about the person who shall not be named, the rat. We also spoke about injuries. We spoke about transfers. We spoke about all kinds, and obviously looking forward as well to January. Fantastic show with Keith Downey. Great to have him back on the show. So if you haven't watched it already, go and have a look at our videos. You will find it. And yeah, we had a really great discussion with Keith Downey, didn't we, Pete?
Absolutely. Great show. Little snippets, transfers, Ross Wilson. Go check it out. Johan Wissa. With regards to AFCON, we got a lot of answers to some questions there. Obviously, Keith's opinion, but Keith is very much in the know. If you watched him this summer reporting on all things Newcastle United, he was bang on the money with a lot of big deals. So, go watch that back. Great show with us and Keith. And Keith will be back with us, no doubt about it. Hopefully, around the time of the January transfer window, where he expects some business with Newcastle United in incoming players. So go watch it, find out what we were discussing.
Absolutely. Steve Reynolds, resident Fulham fan. Yeah, Fulham fan. Yeah. I was correcting myself then, but yeah, he is a Fulham fan. Big thanks for tuning in, Steve. Much appreciated, mate. Pete, FFC here. You took your chances and Silva did not react. You were not great, but grounded out a win. And that's absolutely right. And I agree with what Steve's saying there. Do you agree with that, Pete? You think, obviously, it's always nice when the opposition fans come in and, wish you well and say, that you got your 3 points. But I agree with what Steve's saying there, saying that, we weren't great because we weren't.
Yeah, big respect to Steve and Emilio and Fulham as well. Steve's always a big supporter of the channel, so massively appreciate it. And he's exactly right. We took our chances. Silva's reactions and some of the changes he made were maybe positive, or maybe not at the right time. But I think I think we deserve to win on the balance of play. Balance of play, chances created, domination of possession in key areas. I think we deserved 3 points in the end. I'm just glad that we did that. But look, Fulham showed today that even with players missing, they can still hold their own. And look, Steve, make sure when you play against the likes of Chelsea, when the likes of Tottenham, and of course Sunderland as well, make sure you get those points on the board. Make sure you do us a favour, and we will do the favour back to you as well. But great to have you in there, Steve. I hope you well. And look, I'm sure we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bring this one up because, again, I've been very, very critical of this player in the past, but this season I cannot fault him. And Lee Owen says, does Ramsdale deserve a shot? Pope has been a solid shot stopper, but a ball-playing keeper will progress better and improve us, no doubt. And the reason I'm bringing this up, Lee, in the main, obviously, a great point. But, again, I watched Nick Pope and he made some really big saves today. Really, really big saves. Some people will say, they were basic or, he was expected to make them. But I'm looking back at that Val Jimenez shot. That was great. That was a great save. Really, really great save. And Nick Pope, he's been very reliable this season, hasn't he, Pete?
I'm failing to see what Nick Pope did wrong in the game today. I know, and there's been a few people actually been kind of clambering for Aaron Ramsdale to come in and get his shot. And look, he'll play on Wednesday. I'll be shocked if he doesn't play against Tottenham on Wednesday. That'll be his opportunity to prove his worth. But I have to say, today, I don't see really what Nick Pope did wrong. On another day, he'll be sitting here with another clean sheet, and I'm a bit disappointed he isn't sitting here with another clean sheet, because it wasn't like Fulham peppered us. They didn't pepper us. Every shot that was had was quite routinely saved. I mean, the shot the goal that they scored obviously was a shot off the bar. It was no chance Pope was getting anywhere near to that, and then obviously it was the rebound. They just reacted quicker. It was, I don't blame Pope for the goal at all. I don't even blame Sven Botman to it. He reacted as quick as he could. It was just that Lukic was a little bit closer to goal and just managed to get that little bit of a forehead ahead of Sven Botman. It is what it is. But other than that, I think Pope put a foot wrong. So I don't think it should be a case that he deserves a shot. Only when Nick Pope is conceding a significant amount of goals and is having howlers all over the place, at that point, maybe there's worth a conversation about should we change goalkeeper. But at this moment in time, in my opinion, I don't think there's even a conversation about changing goalkeeper at the moment. Nick Pope's got the gloves, and I think he fully deserves them at the moment, at this moment in time. But any different thoughts from you, Chris?
No, I completely agree. I've been one of Nick Pope's biggest critics. I was done with Nick Pope last season. I'll be honest. I reached a point where I was like, do you know what? We need a new number one. I'm not saying that we don't still need a new number one going forward. I'm not saying that. So I won't completely flip-flop on my original opinion, but I will put my hand up and say when I'm wrong in terms of, Nick Pope being past it or not being able to, perform at this level anymore, because I think he's been outstanding this season. I really, really do. And I struggle. I look back and I struggle to think of anything where I think, last season and maybe the season before, I felt like most weeks I was going, Pope should have done better. Pope should have done better with that goal. Pope with the mistake. I've very rarely said that this season. And Nick Pope has been really, really good for us this season. And that's credit to him. We know, I think, in fairness to Lee, I know where Lee's coming from in terms of, a ball-playing goalkeeper. I do understand that. But as a shot stopper, and I think we've consistently said this, haven't we, as a shot stopper, Nick Pope is very, very good. Very, very good. And Eddie Howe constantly talks about his shot stopping. And again, to quote the press conference, he said that, in terms of shot stopping, he's one of the best in the Premier League. And I can't really argue with him. And I think we've said it on here many a time, haven't we, Pete, that, if Nick Pope was playing in goal, 20, 30 years ago, he would probably be one of the best. Because playing with your feet 20, 30 years ago wasn't really a thing, was it? It was just a case of we want you to stand in goal and we want you to stop goals going into the back of the net. And that's what it was.
Yeah. And look, like obviously the game's changed, the way in which teams change. It is what it is. And look, the likes of Deck in the chat has put Ramsdale looks comfortable too, though, and he absolutely does.
Yeah,
It's very comfortable. Aaron's said on there, to be honest, I think Pope has been heavily helped by Chow and Botman, which I could also agree with. And Ramsdale, yeah, maybe he does need some minutes, but you don't just change. You don't. I know it's 3-0. Brian scores for Man United. I've not seen the goal. It'll come up for me in just a second. But
it's so easy. It's just frustrating seeing glances that every time I glance down, Man United are just running all over them. Unbelievable.
Brighton have been horrendous today.
Oh,
it's been horrendous.
Terrible.
It looks like they've just turned up like they've turned up knowing they're going to lose, and I don't know why, but yeah. Man United haven't had to work hard for their win today. That's for sure. They're 3-0 up, and they deserve to win this game. To be fair, they've been by far better than Brighton. But the point I was making in both what Aaron and Deck says that yeah, Ramsdale is very. I like Ramsdale as goalkeeper. I think he is a good goalkeeper, and I think he's capable of being on number one. But my point is that you don't just go and change a goalkeeper for the sake of it. Like if a goalkeeper's playing well and got the gloves, it has to be something significant to change that. Obviously, Wednesday will change because it's natural rotation. But cup game, he'd have been promised cup games as part of signing for Newcastle United. But in terms of the league games and the Champions League, there's no real need to change Nick Pope unless Nick Pope has a howler or a stinker or concedes a number of significant goals the way you'd make a big change at this point. You just wouldn't. So it is what it is. But look, isn't it great to have two goalkeepers that are at equal levels for chomping at the bit to get that number one spot? I have to say, I watched the warm-up. I was in there quite early in the game against Benfica, and I watched the warm-up of both, and you could tell that Ramsdale in warm-up was really, really trying to kind of like show his qualities. He was, really putting himself about, making some big saves. I know it was only warm-ups, but that motivation and you can see Pope watching Ramsdale really closely on his warm-up. Ramsdale watching Pope really closely on his warm-up as well. And you can tell they're pushing each other. Ramsdale's not just going to sit there and just expect to be second fiddle like Dubravka maybe was and Ruddy and Gillespie. Ramsdale's in there because he wants to take his spot. And this is why Pope's playing as well as he is this season. This is why he's doing as well, because he's pushing him big time. So let's wait and see.
And you know what, Pete, going back to what you just said there, it's really positive, that, isn't it? It's positive because, you see from the pictures, that Adam Ramsdale looks absolutely delighted that he's there. He's competing. I think we saw a video, I forget what it was, but I think Newcastle United released a video of Adam Ramsdale and Nick Pope, and it showed them behind the scenes together, and they seem to get on really well. And that's good. It's healthy competition, isn't it? And it's important that, they're all there, because the main objective, obviously, is to win football matches. That's the whole aim, and it's about the team. It's not about individuals. But it's great, like you say, that we've got two keepers of a really, really decent level, who are pushing each other, and ultimately, we're getting results on the pitch. That is the main thing.
Absolutely.
So, let me see. Yeah, this one was interesting from Scott Cron. He says, Robin Koch is keeping Malik Chow out of the Germany squad, and fucking Bas at Ajax is keeping Botman out. These managers are shit. I'll be honest, when I saw this, my first thought there, Scott, as much as I look at this with my Newcastle head on and my, player head on. And I think, I would love Sven Botman to be in that Dutch national side. I would love Malik Chow to be in that Germany side in terms of, for their own personal career, in terms of, bringing them on and experiencing, international football. But then my selfish Newcastle side thinks, if these managers aren't spotting two absolutely quality players, and we're keeping them fresh for Newcastle United, I'm more than happy with that, because it just means that they're solely focused on their club football. So I'm a bit torn on this one. I'm a little bit torn on this one. But what about you, Pete? How do you feel about this? I promise we won't mention the Congo word either.
Look, it's a matter of time. It is a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised. I won't be surprised if one of them, if not both, are called up in November. You look at the players that's been talked about by Scott, and look, Malik Chow and Sven Botman are quality. They're just better than both of those players. It's just a reality. It is. However, selfish me is kind of like, I'm glad. I want them training at Newcastle. I want them fresh as a daisy for our fixtures. And there's almost a part of me that's like, you know what? Don't call them up in November, but call them up in March. Like, give us the big best chunk of the season to work with them and get them continually working at that level, so it benefits Newcastle United, and then go in and have your internationals. But you know, ultimately, as we've seen with the likes of Gordon, when you're training with elite players for your national team, it does kick you on a level. It does give you that level of confidence that, you know what, I'm here. Like, I am good enough to play at this level, and that also can be a good thing with players going on in international duty. But I think for me, over the years, where we've been stung with international injuries, with the likes of, even going back years before this, but like Tim Krul, for example, doing his ACL on international duty, and injuries like that. I think Rob Elliott on international duty, Michael Owen going back in 2006. I was there in Germany when he did his ACL, and it's just like, we've been stung consistently through internationals of players getting injured and it affecting Newcastle United. I'm just sick of it. So there's a part of me where I'm just like, you know what, I'm glad they're not being called up. They're staying fresh for Newcastle. But I do understand the fact that international recognition does give them a platform to just reach a higher level. And that higher level will be at Newcastle United, which is also a positive thing. So it is a bit of a balance there. But look, ultimately, it won't be long. Both will be recognised. With Rudiger being out for Germany, I'm surprised that Chow's not been called up sooner, but I think they've maybe took a longer look at Chow, and I'd be shocked if he's not picked for Germany for their internationals in November.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenesis says, Osula looked hungry when he came on. Would you still accept 30 million in January for him now? So that's one part of the question, but I'm bunching together a few Will Osula comments. We also had, I say a few comments. This one stood out to me, Peter Moyle, saying Osula needs more than 5 minutes. And what I wanted to ask you, Pete, so as well as asking about the 30 million, which I know we briefly touched on earlier, but say Frankfurt come in with 30 million and just went bang, 30 million. Where are you with that? And also, do you think he needs more than 5 minutes? And the reason I'm asking you that is, I think he deserves more than 5 minutes, but like that performance that we saw today, that all-action performance, he probably can't do that for half an hour, can he? So I can almost see why, Eddie Howe brings him on so late in the game, because if he gives absolutely everything, for the 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever he's on, if you are to give him longer, would he then fade out? So that was going to be my question for you.
I think the big thing for me is with Will Osula is, if he comes on, he's likely to be coming on for Nick Woltemade, and this therein lies the problem, is that are we as fans accepting that Nick Woltemade is going to come off at 70 minutes, 75 minutes? So he's only going to get that amount of time to play in the game. He'd faded by the 80th minute, so it was the right decision to make, actually. I think Eddie Howe made the right call by bringing him off, because he was fading very quickly in the game, and he wasn't going to affect the game as well as he was in the early parts. But ultimately, if you are going to be looking to give Will Osula more minutes, you're going to be giving Nick Woltemade less minutes. So therein lies a bigger problem. Now, if Nick Woltemade has scored 2 goals or got a couple of assists at that point, that's fine. But if you want him to continue to play to try and get you a goal, maybe it's not. So I think that's why William Osula came on later on in the game. I do agree he won't be able to do that for 90 minutes. So he won't be able, starting games, he won't be able to do that consistently. He is very much an impact player like he did against Liverpool. He will come on and make a difference. And certain players have skills and qualities to be able to do those things. And at this moment in time, William Osula for 15, 10 or 5 minutes is not the worst thing in the world, particularly if you're in a position like we were today where we're chasing the winner. It's not the worst thing in the world to bring him on and make him try and create something and make something happen. So yeah, I've got no issue with it at this moment in time. It is an as need basis. But yeah, I understand why people are frustrated with it. But for me, it's more about getting Nick Woltemade minutes, getting Nick Woltemade goals, getting Nick Woltemade assists. It's about he's our main guy at the moment. We need to be prioritising him. And when he's tired, then the focus turns on William Osula, not the other way around. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, no. For me, I think what he's doing right now is probably about right. I'm not saying that he doesn't deserve 20, 30 minutes, but I think you're right. It's in terms of the game as well, isn't it? Because, like you say, if Nick Woltemade has, got a goal, got an assist, whatever, and we're 3-0 up, yeah, give him half an hour. Absolutely give him half an hour. If you're wanting him to come on and impact the game and try and nick something in the last 5 or 10 minutes, absolutely. But if the game was, say, at 0-0 or 1-1, I wouldn't bring him on with half an hour to go at this point, only because I think you lose all of that energy and fast-pacedness, if that makes sense. So for me, I'm quite liking what's going on at the minute. But Pete, I've got to ask you, Frankfurt, let's fast forward to January. Frankfurt come in first week in January and they slapped 30 million down on the table. Double your money. We know William Osula costs 15 million. Are you going back to the negotiation table and saying you want more? Are you saying no? Or are you taking your 30 million and money? What are you doing?
I'm definitely negotiating. Because I think we, to get that sort of money for William Osula might not be there in the summer or the summer or the window after that. So you got to look at, if we sell William Osula and make significant money on him, that might be then somebody that we might not need to sell in the squad later on down the line that can stay, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like we sold Anderson and Minte because we had to. Like, it might mean that a player like that in the squad currently may not need to be sold in the future because we negotiate that. But there's a lot of variables to that conversation, Chris. There is a lot of variables. I believe it is 3-1. Brighton have a goal back.
Oh.
So, yeah, I'm sure that will filter through in just a second. But, yeah, just to answer my point, I think there's a lot of variables to Welbs. Good old Welbs doing a job again. But
Pete.
Go on.
Oh, it's what? It looks like a 25-30 yard free kick. So you have to keep your eye on it, Pete, if you're watching. I know you're going to be behind, but it was well worth the watch. I mean, you could argue Lemons, the keeper, could have done better because it looked pretty central to me. Oh yeah, keeper should have done better there. But yeah, good finish from Danny Welbeck though. Fair play.
Okay. The big there's a few caveats to the William Osula conversation. If it comes about in January, it's how much are Frankfurt willing to pay. Now, for me, it has to be a permanent deal or minimum loan with an obligation. So there has to be a fee guaranteed to be paid at some point, either in January or by the summer. But then on top of that, it's a case of who we're bringing in. Because you cannot release William Osula unless there is somebody ready to take the mantle. And as Keith Downey reported and spoke to us during our show, he expects Newcastle United to go in for another striker. So that then builds another conversation and another question there. So I think if Newcastle United have a striker targeted that they want to bring in, that's of a higher caliber than William Osula currently is, I think Newcastle United should negotiate the transfer of William Osula. Because let's be clear, Newcastle United were willing to sell William Osula. William Osula was happy to move to Frankfurt. Like, let's not get it twisted here. Like, he was happy to move, and Newcastle United were happy to sell. So let there be a conversation around a deal. Now, Dex just brought up a player, Rayan, who we talked about on Wednesday. Of interest. He's a good, exciting young talent that people are talking about a lot. Endrick, for example, albeit might be very, very difficult to do, but Endrick at Real Madrid is going to leave on loan. If you were to bring a player in like that, that's higher profile and someone that can produce those moments, you'd maybe consider that. Or is there a more ready-to-go type striker? If, for example, Johan Wissa goes on international duty, we're going to need someone that's ready to go in there. Now, I think we'd have to go into the European market to get that type of player, but wait and see. So there's a lot of variables, Chris, as I've just mentioned, as to whether I would accept sitting at the table. At this moment in time, no, he stays at Newcastle United. But if we have a player that we know we can get in January, I would absolutely sit at the table and negotiate a deal.
Yeah. And do you know what? Sophie makes a really good point here. I like this, Sophie. Sophie says 40 million with a buyback clause, easy sale. I think the buyback clause has to be in there, absolutely. And maybe that's where, you know, the fee does come down a little bit in terms of, okay, we'll give you him a little bit cheaper than what we would normally do. But if we want to buy this player back, you know, say for example we go to Frankfurt, okay, you can have him for 30 million. Okay, we double our money, we take it. But there's a really reasonable buyback clause there of say 45 million. If we want to buy him back in 2 years' time, it activates after 2 years. If we want to buy him back, we absolutely can. That could be something that works, because obviously to insert such a low buyback clause, you've got to appreciate that, you know, the club may not want to fork out mega money. So I think that would be a wise move as well, because again, in this PSR world, it could be that in 2 years' time we go, do you know what, we're not going to buy him back, but we've still doubled our money. So in theory, it's been a good signing anyway. So yeah, interesting point. But yeah, good suggestion there, Sophie. I like that. Let's see. We'll do a couple more. Yeah. So 9 NUFC says the ref, Woltemade and Bernd get no fouls against them because of their height. Yeah, you know, particularly in that second half, every time. Did you notice that the referee, something had happened and the referee would wait 3 or 4 seconds and then give the decision? It was almost as if he was listening to what the crowd were thinking and then going, yeah, I'm going to have to give that as a foul because it's you know, it's not great. The delay on some of his decisions in that second half was unbelievable.
Absolutely crap. Awful ref. Really, really bad performance. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it was taking that long. And it was almost to see how things evolved before he made the decision, which in some cases you think that was being a good referee, but there were some cases there where it was just a blatant foul, where you just put up, it's a blatant foul. There was no advantage there, and he just wasn't giving them. Like, yeah, just shocking performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Couple of bits, and Pete, you touched on this at the very start. Aaron Kane says, I was really disappointed Ramsey didn't get minutes today. He deserved to start, in my opinion, ahead of J7, who I thought was decent, but not cute enough in his passing. Do you fully expect Jacob Ramsey to start on Wednesday, Pete? I think you said you did, didn't you? But do you think he's one of a number of players who you think will get his start on against Spurs?
I would. The way I would see it right now is I would play Jacob Ramsey against Spurs. I'd be giving him the start after his brilliant performance against Benfica, and I would be starting Joe Linton away at West Ham. He loves West Ham. He always plays well at West Ham, particularly at the Olympic Stadium. So that would be the rotation for me that I would do. Ramsey to start Wednesday, Joelinton to start against West Ham. That's how I would see it. I was disappointed he didn't come off the bench, but I think the intention was there to bring him off the bench. But sometimes the game goes in a different way, where a different player is needed. So I think maybe where they probably would have brought Ramsey on, they brought Osula or Elanga on instead. So I think that's how the game's gone and what the game needed at that particular time. I actually think, one player we haven't given props to, I actually thought Joelinton had a good game today.
Yeah, he did.
I've not really been a big fan of him this season. I think he's had a few poor games, but I actually think Joelinton played well today. He put out a lot of fires in the first half, and I thought his use of the ball was actually pretty good, which is normally his downfall. And I thought he was good in the second half. He moved the ball quite well. He kept things ticking over. He kept breaking up play. So, although I would have liked Ramsey to have started, I thought, you know what, Eddie Howe knows best. Of course he does. And Joelinton had a good performance, so no qualms from me. But that's the rotation that I would do. Jacob Ramsey on Wednesday, Joelinton to start next week.
Yeah. Out of interest, Pete, on Wednesday, are you thinking of West Ham at the weekend? Are you starting Miley or are you starting Sandro?
Sandro, 100%. If Sandro's fit, Sandro comes back in. I thought Miley did okay, but Sandro is obviously just that level above. And look, we want to be getting through to the next round. And I think Tottenham will come to St James's Park with a full-strength side. So I think we are go like for like. We need to go strong. I think that's part of the reason why he took Nick Woltemade off and put William Osula on. Was the right decision in the end. I think that's why I think if this was a must, I think if this was like a significant game today, I think Sandro plays. I think Sandro could have played today and started the game, but I think it was almost kind of like, let's see what Miley's about. Let's give Sandro a little bit more rest time, not put too many minutes in his legs, because I think they're going to go right. Give it a few more days, you're going to be 100% Wednesday. Get at Tottenham, get at them, all action, all work rate, all intensity, and he's going to be fit and past his illness to be able to do so. So that's my mindset. So I'd be going Sandro all day long.
Yeah. No, agree. It's going to be a big game against Tottenham, and if we go and win that, again, it's all about, for me as well, not just about progressing in the cup, but it's about keeping that momentum up. Keeping that momentum up so that we go into West Ham, 3 wins on the bounce. Straight in there, let's go, and go and get those 3 points as well against West Ham. 2 more questions, Pete. So, Andy Ford, why can't we control the game? Apart from Bradford and 2 bang-average Champions League teams, we've lacked any authority whatsoever in the Premier League. There's no chance of a successful season if we continue like this. What are your thoughts on that, Pete? I mean, for me personally, from Andy, I can see what Andy means in terms of controlling the game. It does still feel like we're still waiting for that click moment, that where we start to finish, we just dominate a game. We've yet to really see that, particularly in the Premier League. But I feel like it's coming. I feel like it is coming. And Eddie Howe, again, to quote it, he alluded to it in this press conference, that we're so close. We're so close from really hitting that peak form. But what are your thoughts on that, Pete?
Yeah, in terms of the comment around controlling a game, I think we do. And let me explain what I mean by that. I think for long parts of games, like, for example, long parts of today's game, we controlled the game. We pushed Fulham back. We had the initiative and the emphasis of holding possession for long parts of that game. I think the biggest thing for us is potency, is making the difference in the final third. Our final ball, our finish, our cross, our final action is what lets us down, because I think for large parts of the game, we control possession. We know how to control possession across defence, across midfield, side to side, in between. We can get up to the 18-yard box and be really, really efficient. As a team, we are really good at being efficient, but it's those final moments. It's that cross into the box. It's that final pass before the shot. It's the actual shot itself that might be letting us down. There's no reason why we couldn't be 3 or 4-0 up at half time. Murphy hits the post, albeit from a ridiculous angle, but Woltemade could quite easily have scored in that game. There was other chances in the first half where we could have put the ball in the back of the net. Murphy misses the 1-on-1. that we go into 2-0 at half time, it's a different conversation. You know, it's working. It's that bit for me, Andy, that lets us down. It's the final ball, not the control. Because if you look at the course of the game, you know, their goal comes out the blue, really, because in that second half, as I said, when I was kind of reliving the game, we dominated that first part of the second half for 10 minutes. It was all us. We penned them back into their own half. We barely came out of their half in that first 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden, they have one attack, one ball into the box, comes off the ball, goes in, and it's like, how the hell has that happened? Like, that's my thought, is that if we take our chances, those types of opportunities don't happen, because the more we don't take chances, the more confident other teams get in the game. We keep missing chance after chance after chance. It's going to feed and give opposition confidence. If Murphy puts his second chance away and it's 2-0, it's game done and dusted, and we probably go on to win 3 or 4 because their heads are gone, the game's gone, their substitution changes attack is very, very different because of the how the game is sitting. That's what we need to be ruthless in games. We need to get the game by the scruff of the neck and go, right, we've got 1 goal. Let's get 2 or 3. Let's end the contest right now. And if we can end the contest, no team's coming back from this, because I trust our defence. I trust our goalkeeper to keep teams out, to not score 2, 3, 4, 5 goals. I do.
Yeah. No, I do. I know what you mean about controlling the game. But I can also see what Andy means. I mean, we've seen, haven't we, in recent seasons under Eddie Howe, you know, from start to finish, we're waxing Liverpool going, "Oh, it was brilliant. Everything was brilliant." But today was all about the result, and we got the result. But it just feels like we've got that extra 10, 20%. And you're right, because if we start being a bit more potent up front, we're putting games to bed. And then we're looking at games and it's 2-0, 3-0, and we're going, this is done. This is done. And I think if we can do that, it will be to our benefit. So no, I do agree, mate. And then the final question, I like this. It's very rare that we go slightly off football here. So I like this question here from Dale. And Dale says, out of curiosity, is anyone going to be watching the boxing or the UFC tonight?
I'll be definitely.
Joseph Parker's the boxing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the UFC, funnily enough, our Callum said to me earlier, he was like, "Oh, do you want to watch the UFC later?" And I was like, who's on? And he was like, "Oh, it's Tom Aspinall." And I like Tom Aspinall. So I might watch that.
Well, it depends on what time it is, because normally UFC is like early hours. I don't actually know the time, because I've not checked it with Aspinall, but I'll definitely be watching the boxing, 100%.
Yeah.
I believe that one's on around 10 o'clock. But,
oh, is it? Oh, that's good. And don't forget.
I don't know. I could be wrong on that. I could be wrong. I'm expecting it to be.
Let's have a look.
Or it might be the other way around.
What time is Joseph Parker? What time is Joseph Parker's night? Yeah, it's about... Oh, yeah. Expected ring walk, 10:30.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll be definitely watching that.
Yeah.
100%, and then we'll go into. I'll see what the UFC is saying after that point, but yeah.
Interesting. The main card following at 7. Oh, I don't. Oh, it doesn't actually say. Well, I can't see.
UFC in the States. I imagine it's in America, so I would expect it to be sort of early hours.
Abu Dhabi.
Oh, okay. So it might be around a similar time then.
Yeah, Abu Dhabi. Thomas followed me. Change. Yeah, it depends on the undercard, doesn't it? Yeah, so it might actually be a reasonable hour. We'll have to see. I'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. So might be able to watch both.
Yeah, exactly. And then don't forget as well, we've got a huge. Our main event's on now. Says Dectonic. So yeah, we will. Oh right. So the prelims are over in the UFC. Main event's on now. Oh right. So we'll have to go and watch it then. Tom Aspinall must be on now. Well.
Where we will be going.
Yeah, and don't forget as well, we of course we have we haven't got Hate Watch tonight, have we, Pete? It's not exactly Hate Watch, but it's certainly, Pete, better than anyone in the chat. You know, I love keeping an eye on my local rivals, and like I say, I've got my 3 points. My 3 points are in the bag, so I'm expecting 3 points for Liverpool tonight. And if we don't get it, I will be reminding my red mates of you know, that the gap is closing. The gap is closing.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I've got no care about tonight's game.
Are you not? Oh, mate. I am all Brentford.
My hate watch is pointless tonight because he's not even in the squad.
No, he's not.
So look, my issue is with one individual, not Liverpool Football Club. So the fact that Isak's not playing means that I can just switch on. I mean, look, the game will be on, no doubt. I watch UFC boxing stroke on my phone, but yeah, I won't be hate watching tonight. I'll just be watching for football's sake, because yeah, the rat is not in the squad. That dicky groin is rearing its ugly head again, this time for Liverpool, and it feels good we haven't got to worry about those dicky groins becoming a problem again.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's a nice relief, isn't it? Nice relief. But yeah, that is it for the questions, Pete.
Well, look, that is a wrap, people. We are celebrating 3 valuable points today at St James's Park. Absolutely buzzing at that result. As Sophie and others have put in the chat, Scott, come on Brentford tonight, regardless of the fact that we have no hate watch. But we'll be back for more next week as we build to the big game on Wednesday. I'm sure we'll have a reaction. Oh, hold on a second. 3-2 Brighton.
For a minute.
And there's still what, 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. Hold on a second. Hold your horses. There could be a sting in the tail just yet. But look, we'll be back for more next week. There'll be top table talk. There'll be a reaction for the Spurs game. There'll be a big match preview. Hopefully Dan Norris will be available and we can get that sorted. But I'm working on that at this moment in time. And yeah, plenty of more content to come from Loaded Mag NUFC. But do all those good things as you're switching off. Click that like, subscribe if you're new, and of course, when the show's finished, get that hype button done and up. Make sure we get that hype button up and nice to give more people exposure to the channel. And yeah, we'll be back very, very soon. Hopefully celebrating more victories into the next round of the Cup, and hopefully over the next week celebrating more points next Sunday for Newcastle United to mosey on up in the league. But the only question I've got now is just, what do we end on? Do we end on a Bruno?
Do you know what, Pete? I don't even know why it popped in my head, but I think we should end on the radiator shed. On the radiator shed. I missed the tune.
Oh, okay.
I haven't done that for a while, have we?
Well, we haven't. But hold on. I'm gonna have to find that now. The old radiator shed. Let's have a look. Is it on the overflows? I'm just trying to find it.
We do have our radiator shed tune, don't we? I'm looking myself.
We do. There we go. It's on there. I've just. I don't know what happened there, but we have got it. I think you found it on the overflows. It is there. We were just holding on to see if Brighton got the equalizer, but we're going to wrap up there, people. 3 points in the bag. Get in there. Hopefully more victories on the way in the next week, and Loaded Mag will be back. More top table talk, match reaction to the Cup, and potentially the draw. And as well as that, we'll be back with match preview and reaction to West Ham. So loads of Loaded Mag content. Click the notification bell. You will find more there. And we will sign off with the Radiator Shed. We'll speak to you soon. How are the lads? Come on, get in there.